For more, we can speak to Christopher Lamb, Rome correspondent for The Tablet. Hello to you, Christopher. Thank you for speaking to France 24. I just want to begin. Ahead of this visit, the Pope clarified. He said, "I'm not visiting France. I'm visiting Marseille." What did he mean by that?
Well, that's very much in line with the Pope's desire to go to the margins to ensure that his trips have a very clear message. So he has, throughout his pontificate, avoided going to the big Catholic countries in Europe. He hasn't been to Spain. He's been to Strasbourg, to the European institutions there. And his trip to Marseille is very much about a trip to highlight the plight of migrants rather than to France per se. And that's in keeping with Francis's approach to ensure that his visits have maximum impact. And of course, he prioritizes countries that are on the so-called peripheries. He's recently been in Mongolia, for example. There's only 1,500 Catholics. So what he is trying to say is that he's going to Marseille with a message, with a mission, and that he's not going to France as a kind of national visit.
Yeah, you mentioned maximal impact, but in that report we were watching, we just saw he was in Lampedusa 10 years ago criticizing what he called the globalization of indifference. Is he really having an impact on this debate on migration?
Well, it is extraordinary that 10 years on from that historic trip to Lampedusa, which was, of course, the first trip that the Pope took outside of Rome after his election, that he is, once again raising this plight, the plight of migrants, and the fact that Lampedusa is now seeing huge numbers coming to them on the island. So he is having to stick to a consistent message. And is it having an impact? Well, I think Francis is really the only global leader who has consistently spoken up for migrants over the last 10 years. And that has given him a place on the world stage. Has also seen him be heavily criticized by politicians on the right. I see that Eric Zemmour and Mariam Marechal have been very critical of Francis. And of course, he's also run into criticisms with Donald Trump in the United States, and also Matteo Salvini in Italy. So he is a lone voice in many ways on this issue, and he's unafraid to take on politicians who are clearly at odds with him on this.
And is there any way the Pope might be able to rally support for at least getting Europe to agree on what they mean by a shared response?
Well, I think Francis is trying to influence hearts and minds. That's the soft power of the papacy. You know, he doesn't have the hard power of world leaders, but clearly his trip can get a lot of attention. He's going to be meeting with President Macron. He's going to be meeting with the authorities in Marseille. And so when he has those encounters, it's there that he can try and persuade, to try and change hearts and minds, to get a more coordinated approach on this issue. But of course, it's very difficult because even in Macron's government, there are those who are not willing to take huge numbers of migrants. It has become a very, very complex and difficult issue. I think the Pope is aware of that, but his fundamental message is not a policy one. It's a faith one, which is we have to welcome the outsider. We have to welcome the migrant. That is the Church's position. That's the Christian position, and that's what he's seeking to highlight.
Yeah. And during this visit in Marseille, there will be this interfaith gathering. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, that will be a chance for Francis to try and bring different faiths together on this issue. So I think it'll be an opportunity for him to rally support, to show that, and as he has done throughout his pontificate, that he's not simply appealing to the Church and to Catholics, but to people of all faiths and of those of goodwill. So this will give him an opportunity to try and garner cross-faith or cross-religion support. That's something he's done consistently.
All right, Christopher, thank you very much for your time. Christopher Lamb speaking to us from Rome.
Thank you.